Welcome to Project You. This podcast explores how integrating changes into your day can produce the best in health, longevity, and performance. We've recruited experts from around the globe who unleash their wisdom to transform your world. Project You dives into how to live a fully optimized life and uncovers tools and techniques to unleash your maximum potential. You only get one shot at this life, so let's get started.
Welcome to episode 30. Project You podcast. I titled this episode The Tao of Change, and the point is that change is really the only constant. Bear with me as I want to share a story in just a few minutes here, but I hope you're having a fantastic week, and I want to give a shout out to all those who have reached out on Twitter and by email. We've had some good dialogue and some back and forth with some poignant health questions. And for all of those of you joining me for my Tuesday Tactics session on Periscope, I've been having a lot of fun with that. I've got some new equipment I'll be trying out later today for this week's Tuesday Tactic. We're up to number 6, I believe. And also to those who've jumped onto the men's health course, welcome aboard. We're approaching 2,500 students. My goal at the end of the month is to reach 3,000. We'll see if we make it or not. If you or someone you know might benefit from some insight into how to hack your physiology, how to reach the best self, I know that it's challenging. You go to see your doctor and you have literally 5 to 7 minutes to get everything out, and then you're out the door. And that's just the way modern healthcare works. And so my point of the men's health course is really to create a balance of body, mind, spirit, helping people create their Zen, if you will, the best in health, wellness, and longevity. So that aside, let's dive into this episode. And I want to start with a quote from Lao Tsu. We shape clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness that holds what we want. I'm going to share a story here, and this title of the story is Who's Mikki? And I just want to take you back about 20 years into my life as a resident physician. That was before healthcare reform, before hours reduction, and the more friendly workload that many interns and residents now know as training. When I was there, it was normal to work 100 hours a week, and many weeks much more. And so any free time I had was just relished. I mean, it was a chance to actually see my wife and spend some time sleeping in my own bed for once. And my first month, like anybody involved in a residency program, particularly a stressful one such as emergency medicine and trauma, that we spend the first month getting our feet wet, and then after that you move on to rotations throughout the hospital. I drew the short lot, if you will, to be the intern on the trauma service. Late summer, early fall is historically just a crazy time on trauma. The number of patients, the carnage from car accidents, gunshot wounds, assaults, stupidity, I mean, it was just never ending. And the hours were grueling. I've forgotten most of this, but my wife reminds me that it wasn't uncommon for me to be out the door before 4 in the morning, and she wouldn't see me until maybe 10 o'clock the next night or sometimes later. And so it was a very stressful, very challenging time, and we were all new to the program, new to each other, didn't know anybody other than the people I'd met interviewing the year before. And so enter Mikki. And Mikki sort of took me under his wing. He was a senior resident. He came from somewhere in the Eastern Europe. I don't recall. I think Poland. I'm not sure. Did some research at the University of Chicago. Was just a very smart guy, very down to earth, compassionate, and very gentle, caring person who sort of took me under his wing and helped me get through some of the grueling, horrible months that lie ahead. And I remember just finishing up just a terrible shift and just was just exhausting, and walking out into the late evening sun, another 36 plus hour shift down. And he turned to me and said, "You did it. Another great shift on the trauma team. We couldn't have done it without you. Nicely done." And his positive spirit just really meant the world to me. I mean, I was changing as a physician, and the experiences were changing me as a person. And coming into a new hospital, you're loaded with self-doubt and criticism internally, but you're also trying to put your best face forward and really show what you know and what you can do. And so any words of encouragement were just really greatly appreciated. And he celebrated the day as well, and let me know that he was going off for a weekend with his wife. He had paid his dues, and it was time to celebrate their anniversary. He had a special day planned. And we waved goodbye. He had a twinkle in his eye. He said something in Polish or some other language, one of the many he spoke that I didn't understand. and smirked, and we walked in opposite directions. Come Monday, our time away from the hospital then was maybe 24 hours at most, and I generally worked about 28 days a month. A little bit later, my pager chimed, and it was time to jump headfirst into another trauma shift. And it was a number I didn't recognize, and the trauma chief had summoned us all into what we called the pit. And we walked in, and the mood was immediately palpable, somber. Mikki's dead. Just like that. What? There was no way to soften the blow. It just came out. We were all a close-knit team by that point, and the devastation, the emotional toll was horrific. He was gone. The story unfolded that he and his wife had been out celebrating the day of their anniversary. They'd been swimming on a beach, and they were on their way to enjoy a nice anniversary dinner. They were hit broadside by a dump truck, and both were killed instantly. I was crushed. We all were. Residency is hard to get through. Tight bonds form, and we all have to learn how to cope with the relentless demands and stress. And Mikki was just one of the ways that I coped, just a way to kind of bring me up when my mood was down, or to give me some encouragement when a case wasn't going particularly well. And one of the things that sticks out in my mind is one of his friends got up and talked about change, and how change is always constant. From the moment we're born till the moment we die, we're changing. It's inevitable. It's part of nature. And I remember he gave his eulogy and talked about change, and then walked over and placed a cigar in Mikki's suit pocket inside the casket. I can almost see Mikki's soul brighten a bit. Goodbye, my old friend. And he turned and walked out of the room. So my point in sharing this is change. It was a traumatic change in my experience as a young physician, but also to bring light that change is part of nature, part of life, and learning how to accept that, to come up with your own strategies and ways to deal with that, as opposed to internalizing it and holding it all inside. And I started this podcast with just a quote from Lao Tsu. It's a 2,500-year-old wisdom in the Tao Of Change. If you haven't heard of it, I encourage you to check it out. And if you've read it already, congratulations. It's an amazing book. I'm reading it through for the fourth or fifth time. I forget now. I encourage you, if it's the first time through it, maybe pick up some guided narration of it, like Dr. Wayne Dyer has something fantastic. But what I wanted to share is just a few of the most salient points, some of the poignant themes that I've really pulled away from this reread of the Tao Te Ching. Wanting versus doing, they're completely different things. It's the mindset and how you approach things that equals success. Try to let the world unfold and not try to control everything. It's easy to get wrapped up in trying to control and manipulate and affect the outcome of everything. It's difficult for me as a physician. We try to control the outcome of illness, disease, and injury, but just approaching the world with a more gentle, appreciative mind, and realizing that we are just a small dot on a small planet in a vast universe. No good can come without bad. It's impossible for light to exist without darkness. It's the way the world balances itself. Pure and selfless actions allow everything to settle into perfect place. Approaching your day with gratitude and humility can allow the day to unfold and become magic all on its own. To empty the mind is to practice not doing. This equals contentment, happiness, and bliss. Happiness is the way. There is no way to happiness. Another way to say this is, it is the journey. It's not the destination. It's the actual journey. It's hard to always remember to feel gratitude and awe for life. It's an amazing experience that we're all part of. Remember to live with an abundant mindset. Focusing on scarcity and lack of brings more of what you don't want into your life. Remember that today's troubles will be nothing in 10, 100, or 1,000 years. Take everything with a grain of salt. It's very small in the grand scheme of things. Our possessions are not our own. Everything that we possess will eventually pass to another. Nothing is permanent. Remember to live independently of the good and bad opinion of others. Spending your time wondering what other people are thinking and saying about you is a waste of your gifts and your energy. It's really none of our business what other people think. And oftentimes, the fact is, they're not even thinking about us. So don't waste your time. Constantly striving and seeking, while admirable, is never to arrive. Remember to celebrate the moments, the small wins, celebrate your gifts. Try to live like water, never be stagnant, move smoothly, freely, and gently through life. More is often less, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts where current studies show that $75,000 a year for income is sort of the happiness cutoff, if you will. People who earn more than that are not any more happy. So constantly seeking for more often gives you less pleasure, less happiness, less joy. Remember to seek pleasure in the doing. It's the journey, it's the way. That's where true happiness lies. In the opening quote of this podcast, I talked about the emptiness. It's the emptiness often that has the most value. You can't have music without a pause between the notes. A glass can't hold your favorite beverage without the void. Embrace the quietness and the pause between the notes in the music of life. It is possible to see without using your eyes. Open your heart, open your spirit. Invite the universe in. Live unhurried. Muddy water will always settle and give way to clarity if you give it time. Dreams come true in due time. You cannot push the universe, and you cannot push a river, and you cannot reshape the universe. And finally, this too shall pass. The last is a favorite of mine. It happened to be something my mother-in-law used to say while she was alive on this planet. And be grateful for all you have. I'm grateful for you here listening to this podcast. For those of you who have partaken in some of the other content I've put out there and interacted and just expressed gratitude for the work I'm doing and the sharing of knowledge and my goal of trying to help people live more healthy, more fulfilled, more optimized life. I want to leave you just a couple final thoughts. The sun never asks the earth to give back in return for its gift of light. It never says, "You owe me." We are all here, but for a temporary existence in our human bodies. The what, the how, the why is up to us. What will you do with your gift today? Have a great week. Take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Project You. Head over to iTunes and leave a review, or join the conversation on the blog at mitchellnd.com. Have a great week.